Hey everyone, it's Mick Levinskas here from Climate Salad, and I'm catching up with Lily from One Small Step. Hey Lily, how you going?
Hey, I'm really good, thanks, Mick.
We chatted a little while ago. We did a bit quick profile on you, but you've made some amazing progress since then. Do you want to give us a quick update?
Yeah, sure. So I'm just thinking the profile was a couple of months ago. So
Yeah.
we've
Feels like 1,000 years.
yeah. So we've just concluded a seed round where I raised $750,000 from a bunch of really wonderful climate tech investors, which has allowed us to hire a marketing team, which was the piece that we sort of didn't have when we set up and launched the app last year. We've just been doing things from a team of 2 full-time and 2 part-time staff. And now my whole team's full-time, along with a new hire who's sort of a really experienced content marketing person and has done a lot of community building as well. So that's super exciting. We're starting to really focus on user growth. So we're probably launching the app into the US in the next 2 months, which is really exciting. And we're doing a lot of testing of other markets in addition to Australia. So New Zealand, Canada, the UK, just English speaking markets, and sort of seeing what appetite there is for our product there with some digital ads, and looking at whether we could potentially scale into those markets next year. The big thing is just making sure that the content is really, really solid for those regions. And we're looking at also building out a lot more of a sort of an active community online and experimenting with different community models, really just to support people more effectively in terms of the social aspects of the tool. And we're looking at testing a bunch of different community options. And I'd love to hear from people, if you are a user, whether a local One Small Step group would be really helpful, or maybe a specific theme or topic, like if you're interested in green finance, or a cohort-based approach. So looking at, well, I'm a beginner and I want to be talking to other beginners who are figuring it out, or people who are pretty advanced and they're just looking to kind of plug the gaps in their footprint. So that stuff's all really positive. We're doing a lot of A/B experiments now as well. So I think our methodology is pretty solid in terms of improving the product's quality. But yeah, we're also really looking at how do we build better feedback loops with our users. So we're looking at building out a user advisory council as well, so that we have more sort of formalized approaches to ensuring we've got user feedback, not just in the product proper, but also the direction of the business.
Fantastic. Well, I've been a user for a couple of months now, and definitely I've found value in it, but I do agree that there is, I guess, I don't think there's a killer app yet for me as a feature in it. I like the social elements, and but I've got other social elements in my life around climate action, and I'm pretty progressed. I think I've tried a lot of things. Is the goal to be, do you think the priority is individual engagement first and getting them to do like daily activities? Is that the hope? Or do you think that it's actually going to be that social, is it more of a leaderboard or a group support dynamic, or is it going to have to be a combination?
Yeah, I don't think it'll be a leaderboard structure. It's actually a lot more about people feeling like they have a space to go into to talk about the things that they're attempting to do. So if you take the example of green finance, we have a program that's been really popular in the app, helps you switch your bank and switch your super fund. So your money's not investing in, so your money's not in banks that invest in fossil fuel projects. And that program's worked really well. But for a certain cohort of people, there's always going to be certain barriers or things you kind of encounter, and you might want to talk to us, but there's probably also a sense of like, well, I'd like to talk to other people and see what their experience was. So it's really just having the sort of peer and community support aspect that we're wanting to work on. And I think there is a real interest in that. We've seen, on Facebook, a huge jump in the number of sort of self-organizing groups on topics like zero waste, permaculture, gift and sharing economies. So there's clearly a real appetite for people to support one another, both in the physical world, in your neighborhoods, but then also digitally. So I think that's a big piece that we want to work on. Because we've seen that that will likely also, from a behavioural standpoint, really support people to take action, having that social reinforcement. But the value exchange needs to be there, right? Like, it's no fun to join a community and then it's like, hello, I'm a user of One Small Step. It's like, so what? So, it needs to actually be used to people. I think that's the key thing with the app as well. We know that the core values for our engaged users what they're getting out of the app is a sort of a sense of, okay, I can see what I need to do to get down to as close to net zero as possible. We've made some real changes to how we present all of the things we're asking you to do and trying to make it more kind of finite. One of the things we're working on as well is clarity of impact. So we've kind of got, you get to see your gauge, and it sort of shows you how you compare to other people and your carbon footprint. You get a breakdown. We're also working on a subcategory breakdown now that really makes our carbon modeling and accounting really transparent, so that you can see exactly what the assumptions are behind what we're doing. And then you can also see exactly the habits and challenges we're suggesting you take, from things as deep as sort of lighting, these specific categories of purchases. And so it's just helping with that clarity and really showing that the modeling and the rigor behind what we're recommending. So there's that piece, and then the social piece and a bunch of other stuff. And yeah, we're just really wanting to make it as effective as possible. So I think you're right that we're still kind of at a point where I think there's still plenty to do to improve the product. But I feel like our methodology for how we go about doing that is really solid.
Yeah, I think it's good, and I think but the reason why I think it's saying I'm glad you're doing lots of experimentation, because number one, I think there is obviously you want to get to scale, and businesses like this are different at scale than they are starting small. And I'm a passionate advocate, so I was always probably going to use it. But I just think there's also just so much room to grow and really drive that behavior. It's a probably pretty horrible analogy, but I kind of think if people play Candy Crush all day, why can't they engage in their climate actions and impacts all day?
I can answer that.
Sorry?
I can answer that question. It's because it's harder. It's really easy to play a game on your phone. You're asking efforts in the real world, and there's ways to do that. We've seen, behavioral science approaches to dietary change, helping people change their sort of exercise routines. That's not just kind of good marketing from health and wellness mobile apps. There's insurance companies in the US that are valued at billions of dollars because they've used those types of products using behavioral economics and behavioral science to support people to lose weight, get healthier, and it reduces claims on insurance premiums at a significant level. So, there's proof in other areas that these types of approaches can support behavior change. And there's a lot of pro-environmental behaviors that have been shown through randomized control trials that you can increase the uptake of. You need a certain level of motivation, but so we are trying to take an empirical approach. And I think that part's so satisfying to be in a place where we can do that. And so I wouldn't say it's as easy as Candy Crush. It's actually, it would be great if it was. I don't think we'd have as many problems on climate change mitigation if that were the case. But,
that's true. Although I think there's lots to learn from those apps about how they basically engage and get you to take small steps. So I think it goes to the heart of what your product's about, right? It's not basically saying you have to go and live on a farm and grow beans and live off the grid. And it's basically just take small steps. And that's what I like about that Candy Crush analogy. It's basically just take small steps, take one action.
Yeah, the investment versus reward ratio is good. So that's something we're continuously looking at is how do we support people to make incremental changes, not too big in terms of the cognitive load. So we're reducing cognitive load for people. And then also sort of showing what constitutes a reward in this context. One is kind of clarity of impact. Oh, so this actually did make a difference. I can see my impact kind of coming down, my footprint coming down. I can see that I'm not just doing this on my own. I'm not a lone actor in this. And even with communities that are meaningful to me, with the broader community, this is the impact that this is having. I'm part of this collective change. So those are the types of things that we're trying to sort of demonstrate to people visually. And then there's obviously gamification as a component of those reward mechanisms as well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Great progress. That's really, really so glad to see that it's been going well. Got the round closed, more growth, more global scale opportunities, and the experimentation I think is really, really critical. Just briefly speaking of communities, I know you've been a member of Climate Salad as a co-founder for a few months. Can you give a quick message out to any other co-founders who might be thinking of joining Climate Salad? Like, what's the value there?
You're delighted to. So I am a huge fan of Climate Salad. One of the things I even said recently in an interview, like what was the hardest thing about starting a business? And I said, it was really lonely. And you didn't know who to listen to. At least I didn't. I didn't have experience running a business. I'm a first-time entrepreneur. I've had a bit of experience now, mostly, trial and error. But having a cohort of people who are a little bit ahead of you or at the same stage, working in similar or comparable industries. I can't stress how important that is. Talking to someone who's doing B2B SaaS with no purpose, in terms of like trying to achieve a social or environmental benefit, it's a completely different kettle of fish. And so having a community of people facing the same issues, having, potentially the same opportunities, being able to work together to kind of lift each other up, I just think it really increases my happiness is greater from being a part of it.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. And also it's excellent in terms of the benefits to my business, and it gives me a sense of, I feel supported. And that's really hard, especially as a sole founder, to feel like you have a community that's supporting you. So I just would strongly recommend it. I think it's like also very high bar, high caliber of people participating. So you better be good.
Well, yes, that's the goal, is to have people really passionate and doing great things. And Lily, you've been a great contributor as well. It is definitely about giving as well as receiving. And really, again, appreciate your comments there. And you gave me this great feedback, and how we can keep improving it. And we've got a lot of work to do as well. But Lily, fantastic work. I'll let you get back to building an amazing product. Great to see the scale. We'll keep checking in with you as you keep progressing. Joe, you can go to the App Store and just look for One Small Step. Try the app today. Really, really worth it. Give some feedback back. Be part of that experiment, and help take climate action. So, Lily, have a great day. We'll talk soon.
Thanks so much, Mick. Bye.
My recording.